Have you ever felt that strange chill? The kind that whispers someone, or something, is watching from the dark. Tonight, we're stepping into a world of forbidden rituals, hidden symbols, and ancient shadows that refuse to stay buried. These stories don't just scare, they linger, like a voice calling your name long after the screen fades to black. Stay close, don't look away, and let's explore the top 10 ritual horrors that still haunt the brave. If you enjoy this journey, remember to like, share, and subscribe to keep the darkness alive. 1. The Brotherhood of Satan, 1971. A quiet desert town hides a secret, one wrapped in whispered rituals. Vanished children, and eyes that watch from every shadow. And if you listen closely, you might hear them calling. Have you ever driven into a place that felt wrong the moment you crossed its borders, like the air itself was holding its breath? That's where our story begins. A lonely stretch of highway, an overturned car, and a silence too heavy to be natural. From the first moment, you can sense it. Something ancient and hungry lives here. And it's been waiting for you, for me, for anyone unlucky enough to wander too close. As the family enters the town, the world around them feels frozen in time. Doors left half open, curtains barely shifting, streets empty, but somehow, observed. You know that eerie feeling when you're alone, yet you can't shake the sense someone's standing just out of sight? The Brotherhood thrives on that tension, letting you linger in uncertainty until it starts to itch beneath your skin. The deeper the characters dig, the more the town reveals its twisted truth, an elderly cult that refuses to let mortality claim them. They cling to youth through rituals carved into the desert's bones, targeting children with a determination that feels colder than any demon. This isn't a story of loud jump scares, it's the kind where horror seeps slowly, like sand filling a grave. And as the family begins to understand what's happening, the question becomes terrifyingly simple. Who can you trust when an entire town is watching? What makes this film so unsettling isn't just the cult, it's the realization that they believe they're righteous. They pray, they chant, they sacrifice, and through their rituals, they genuinely think they're touching something divine. It's that sincerity that chills you long after the screen fades. Tell me, what scares you more? Evil that knows it's evil? Or evil that thinks it's holy? There's a moment, one I won't spoil, when the truth fully unfolds. And you realize the desert isn't empty at all. It's alive, listening, echoing every whispered invocation. And by the time you reach the ending, you'll be asking yourself, if you were trapped in this town, would you fight, or would you join them? The Brotherhood doesn't just lure its victims. It invites them, gently, like an old friend offering a hand. So, what do you think? Could you survive a place where the rituals never end? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if this kind of chilling, slow burn horror calls to you as much as it does to me, make sure to like, share, and subscribe so we can keep wandering deeper into the dark together. 2. Race with the Devil, 1975. Four friends on a carefree road trip stumble into a nightmare of blood-soaked rituals and a cult that doesn't just watch, they hunt. Can you feel the dread creeping in yet? Imagine the thrill of the open road, wind in your hair, music blasting. And then, suddenly, the horizon feels wrong. Something about the landscape shifts. Subtle at first, like a shadow brushing against your mind. That's the exact moment our story grabs you. You think you're just witnessing a festival of rural charm. But soon, you realize the charm masks a darkness older than any of them could imagine. And here's the hook. Once you're in, there's no turning back. From abandoned barns that seem to breathe, to symbols carved into the earth with precision that chills the soul. The cult in Race with the Devil doesn't announce itself, they whisper. They lure, they watch, always one step ahead. Have you ever felt that tingle on the back of your neck? The one that tells you you're not alone? That's exactly the tension this film exploits, creeping into your senses until you can't look away. Every quiet scene is a countdown, a pulse racing under the calm facade, daring you to stay until the reveal. As the friends try to flee, the horror escalates, not through cheap scares, but through the unsettling idea that evil can follow you across miles of empty roads. The filmmakers excel at making you question safety in motion. You begin to ask yourself, could this happen in real life? Would I notice the signs before it was too late? Isn't that the scariest part? That horror isn't always sudden. Sometimes it's patient, stalking you until you're trapped. The beauty of this movie lies in its slow burn approach, letting the cult's rituals unfold with a terrifying normalcy. Chanting around fires, offerings laid carefully, eyes glowing in the darkness. There's an artistry to their malevolence. And yet, you can't help but be fascinated. Would you, watching them, feel the same morbid curiosity? Or would fear freeze you in place? Think about it, and drop your answer in the comments. I'm genuinely curious how many of you would run versus watch. Every turn of the wheel, every glance over the shoulder, amplifies the suspense, and by the time the climax erupts in unavoidable chaos, you're not just watching, you're riding with them, heart-pounding, praying for a miracle that may never come. It's a film that doesn't just tell you a story, it drags you across the asphalt into the cult's relentless grasp. So, tell me, could you survive being hunted by a cult on an endless highway? Share your thoughts below, and if you want more journeys into the darkest corners of ritual horror, like, share, and subscribe. Let's keep exploring the shadows together. 3. Witchfinder General, 1968. A land gripped by fear, a man empowered by cruelty, and rituals that twist justice into terror. Can you face the darkness behind piety? Close your eyes and picture 17th century England, where whispers of witches float like smoke over every village. The wind carries rumors that a single accusation can end a life. And yet, who spreads these whispers? Enter Matthew Hopkins, the self-styled Witchfinder General, a man whose power grows with every ritual of accusation, torture, and execution. From the first scene, the tension claws at your chest because you realize, he doesn't just hunt witches, he hunts anyone who stands in his way. Anyone whose life he can bend into his game. And that hook, that chilling question, is what makes you keep watching. What would you do if the law itself became your executioner? The film unfolds not with flashy tricks, but with a deliberate, almost poetic cruelty. Every creaking floorboard, every shadow in a candlelit room, heightens your sense of unease. You begin to feel trapped alongside the villagers, your heartbeat sinking with their terror. Have you ever wondered how it would feel to live in a place where faith can be manipulated into a weapon? That's exactly what this movie explores. The fear here is intimate, grinding, the kind that doesn't leave when the lights come on. It lodges in your mind, haunting your thoughts. Hopkins' rituals are more than acts of violence, they are performances. Chilling dances of control and fear. The way he interrogates, the way he manipulates superstition, makes you ask yourself, could such cruelty thrive anywhere? Even today? Isn't it terrifying when the line between justice and obsession blurs so completely? I want you to think about that as you watch. Could you resist, or would you crumble under the weight of fear like the villagers do? Share your thoughts in the comments, your perspective might surprise others. The cinematography amplifies every moment, drawing you into fog-filled fields, dimly lit cottages, and the stark faces of those who know too much. You feel the cold air, the biting cruelty, the suspense that builds like a storm ready to break. And as the story spirals toward its inevitable, devastating climax, you're left pondering a question that lingers far beyond the final frame. What does it truly mean to wield power over others? And at what cost? So, I ask you, if confronted with someone like Hopkins in real life, would you resist, hide, or succumb to fear? Let me know your answer below. And if tales of ritual, terror, and the darkness of human obsession fascinate you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so we can journey even deeper into the shadows together. 4. Haxan, 1922. A silent tale of witches, demons, and forbidden knowledge. Dare to peek into a world where superstition meets terrifying reality. Step carefully, because Haxan isn't like any ordinary horror you've seen. Imagine a flickering candle casting shadows across walls, each one twisting into shapes that seem alive, each one whispering secrets of centuries past. From the very first frame, you feel a strange pull, as though the film itself is breathing beside you. The hook here is subtle but unrelenting. What if every old superstition you laughed at as a child hid truths darker than your imagination could conjure? That's the question this nearly century-old masterpiece dares to ask. And it keeps you watching, heart in your throat. Unlike modern horror, Haxan doesn't rely on blood or sudden screams. Its terror seeps in through imagery and suggestion, through witches' sabbaths drawn with stark expressionist angles, through devils leering with grotesque delight, through rituals that feel disturbingly plausible for their era. You find yourself leaning closer, drawn in by curiosity and a twinge of dread. Have you ever wondered what it would feel like to witness a ritual that might summon forces you can't understand? Forces older than history itself? That's exactly what this film makes you experience. And let me ask you, would you look away? Or stay and confront the darkness? The genius of Haxan lies not only in its visuals but in the way it blurs fact and fiction. The filmmakers guide you through medieval superstitions, accusations of witchcraft, and diabolical ceremonies, and suddenly, the line between entertainment and lesson disappears. You start questioning the world outside your window. Could these old tales have had a kernel of truth? Isn't it fascinating and terrifying when something created for instruction can still haunt you nearly 100 years later? I'd love to know, how do you feel about superstition now? After seeing this, could you live in a world where every shadow might hide a witch or demon? What makes this film linger isn't just its imagery. It's the atmosphere, the sense that these rituals, these incantations, are not bound to the screen. You feel them pressing against your thoughts, asking you to remember, to fear, to imagine. By the time the last scene fades, you're not just an observer, you've traveled into the collective fears of centuries, feeling the awe and horror our ancestors might have felt. So tell me, if you could, would you dare step into the pages of history and witness these rituals yourself? Comment below. I want to hear your thoughts. And if you're captivated by the dark, the ritualistic, and the strangely beautiful world of occult horror, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Together, we'll keep exploring the shadows that refuse to die. 5. Mark of the Devil, 1970. A world where fear is law, torture is ritual, and innocence can be marked for death. Can you endure what lurks in the shadows? Imagine walking into a village where every glance hides suspicion, where whispers curl around corners like smoke, and where the accused are not given a chance to breathe. Mark of the Devil throws you into a world where superstition and cruelty blend into something unbearably real. From the very first scene, you sense the weight of unseen eyes, the oppressive atmosphere pressing down on every character, and by extension, on you. Here's the hook. What if the people you trusted most could become instruments of terror overnight? That lingering question is what keeps you glued, heart racing, eyes glued to the flickering screen. The film doesn't need overt monsters. The terror comes from humanity twisted by fear. Torture chambers lit by flickering candlelight. Confessions wrung from innocent lips. Rituals performed under the guise of piety. Every scene reminds you that evil doesn't always wear a mask. It can smile. It can pray. It can justify itself. Have you ever considered how easily fear can become a weapon in the hands of those who crave power? Think about that as you watch. Would you resist? Or would the shadow of oppression swallow you whole? As the story unfolds, you realize the horror is not only in the acts themselves but in the psychology behind them. Villagers are coerced, corrupted, and consumed by their own participation. The filmmakers make you complicit, inviting you to witness both the spectacle and the subtle manipulation of the human mind. How does it feel to watch someone's humanity stripped away piece by piece? And could you recognize it happening in your own life? I want you to reflect on that. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Could you have stood against such terror? Or would survival demand compromise? The cinematography amplifies the dread, capturing every twitch of fear, every glimmer of malice in the shadows. Each ritual, each accusation, each act of violence carries weight, making you feel the village's oppressive grip. By the climax, you're not just watching history repeat itself, you're living it, feeling the inevitability of superstition and cruelty spiraling toward their devastating consequences. And it's here, in that tension between helplessness and the desire to act, that Mark of the Devil truly haunts. So I ask you, if faced with a society governed by fear and ritualized cruelty, would you find courage or crumble under the pressure? Share your thoughts below. I'm eager to see your perspective. And if tales of dark rituals, ancient superstition, and human obsession enthrall you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Let's continue our journey into the chilling corners of classic ritual horror together. 6. The Dunwich Horror, 1970. A secluded town, forbidden rituals, and a force older than time itself. Would you dare uncover the secrets hidden in the shadows? Picture a quiet New England town, the kind where everyone knows everyone else. Yet beneath the familiar faces, something ancient stirs. The Dunwich Horror begins with whispers carried by the wind, rumors that speak of unnatural births and ceremonies performed under the cover of night. From the very first moment, you feel the pull, as though the landscape itself is alive, watching, and waiting for you to step too close. And here's the hook. What if the evil you fear isn't a stranger, but something born from the very place you call home? As you follow the story, the town's eerie tranquility starts to crack. Shadows linger a fraction too long in doorways. Animals behave strangely, and the very air seems charged with secrets. You feel the tension wrap around you like a cloak. Every glance, every whisper, every rustling leaf might conceal a ritual older than human memory. Have you ever thought about the idea that horror doesn't always announce itself with screams? Sometimes, it's in the quiet, in the subtle, in the things you barely notice until it's too late. That's the brilliance of this film. It seduces you slowly, letting unease creep into your mind until it takes root. The horror in the Dunwich Horror is deeply psychological. You start questioning the people around you. Who is innocent? And who hides knowledge of the arcane? The rituals themselves, mystical, cryptic, and terrifying, carry a sense of inevitability. As if some cosmic design cannot be stopped. You can almost feel the power of those incantations, as if they reach beyond the screen to touch something primal inside you. Tell me, would you investigate the source of such dark power? Or would you flee and pray to never look back? Watching the characters confront forces they barely understand draws you in completely. The suspense isn't in fleeting shocks but in the constant, gnawing awareness that something beyond comprehension lurks just out of sight. And as the story unfolds, you're forced to wonder, if faced with such ancient, malevolent forces, would courage prevail, or would fear dominate? Think about it. How far would you go to confront the unknown? By the final scenes, the ritualistic horror reaches its climax, leaving an impression that lingers long after the credits roll. The atmosphere, the pacing, the dark allure of forbidden knowledge, all of it wraps around your mind and refuses to let go. So, I have to ask you, if your town held a secret as old and malevolent as Dunwich, would you dare uncover it, or let it remain buried? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if stories of ancient rituals and eldritch horrors fascinate you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. There are more shadows waiting for us to explore together. 7. The Devil Rides Out, 1968. A battle between dark forces and those who dare resist. Can courage stand when rituals summon powers beyond imagination? Close your eyes and feel it, the air thick with incense, shadows twisting unnaturally, and a chant echoing through a vast, dimly lit manor. The Devil Rides Out begins in the midst of a world where evil is organized, deliberate, and chillingly human. From the first frame, you sense the danger, an invisible hand brushing the edges of reality, promising that nothing is safe. And no secret is truly hidden. Here's the hook. What would you risk if you knew darkness was real, and it had chosen its prey? That question alone is enough to hold you tight to the screen, heartbeat sinking with every ominous whisper. The story invites you into a circle of occult knowledge, where rituals are not just symbols but living forces. Imagine witnessing a summoning, feeling the surge of energy in the room, the hairs on your neck standing as unseen entities stir. It's not just about the spectacle, it's about the anticipation, the dread, the intimate terror that something far older than humanity is awake. Have you ever wondered what it's like to face malevolence that doesn't need to shout, that simply exists and commands attention? That's exactly what this film lets you experience. What's terrifying here is the sincerity of the cultists. They believe wholly in their rites, their chants, their invocations, and when belief fuels power, even the bravest are tested. You start to question morality, courage, and the line between bravery and foolishness. Would you intervene, or would fear chain your actions? Let me ask you, what would you have done in their shoes? Drop your answers in the comments. I'd love to see how you'd navigate such peril. The tension in The Devil Rides Out is relentless yet refined. Every flicker of candlelight, every shadow cast by the roaring fire, heightens the atmosphere. You don't just see the evil, you feel it pressing against you. Whispering secrets, daring you to uncover truths perhaps better left buried. And as the climax approaches, the stakes grow unbearably high, with ritual and reality colliding in moments that leave you gasping, questioning how far the human mind can stretch before breaking. By the end, the film doesn't just leave you with answers, it leaves you with reflections. What is true courage? How much do we understand about the forces that linger just beyond perception? Could you face a ritual that seeks to bend your soul? Think about it, and share your thoughts below. And if you crave more journeys into the dark, the ritualistic, and the terrifyingly human, like, share, and subscribe. Let's continue exploring these shadows together. 8. Crowhaven Farm, 1970. A secluded farmhouse, a family's dark inheritance, and rituals that awaken forces you cannot see. Would you dare live where the past never dies? Imagine driving through rolling hills at twilight, the horizon painted in gold and shadow, when suddenly a house appears, quaint, inviting, yet vibrating with an energy you can't name. That's where Crowhaven Farm begins, a family seeking peace, only to find that some legacies are darker than any imagination can predict. And here's the hook. What would you do if the very walls around you seemed to breathe with whispers of long-forgotten rituals? Summoning something that refuses to remain buried? That sense of unease, that pull of forbidden curiosity, is what keeps you glued to every flicker of the screen. The terror in this film grows from intimacy. It's not the thunderclap of a sudden scare, it's the slow realization that what surrounds you can be your undoing. Every creaking floorboard, every shadow shifting under the lamplight, every glance from a neighbor who knows more than they should. These details weave together to form a tapestry of dread. Have you ever felt a place's history press against your chest, as if the walls themselves remembered every secret whispered within? That's the sensation this movie captures perfectly. As the family settles in, they discover journals, old symbols, and strange rituals that hint at their ancestors' secretive past. The film asks you to imagine, what price would you pay to understand your own lineage if it meant awakening something malevolent? Every scene nudges you to question your safety, your choices, and even your trust in those closest to you. Could you live in a home where the rituals of the past are not just memories, but active forces shaping your fate? Share your thoughts. I'm curious whether you'd stay or flee. The brilliance of Crowhaven Farm lies in its atmosphere. The filmmakers use every element, lighting, sound, pacing, to make the supernatural feel tangible, as if you can step into the house and feel the chill yourself. And as the story builds toward its climax, the tension escalates, making you question reality itself. Who can you trust when the darkness is both ancient and intimate? By the time the final ritual unfolds, you're left with a haunting thought. Some inheritances are not blessings, they are curses, waiting patiently until they are ready to claim you. So I ask you, if you could sense a dark legacy in your own home, would you confront it, or would you leave it buried? Comment below. I want to hear your take. And if you're drawn to films where ritual, family secrets, and terror intertwine, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. There's more darkness waiting for us to explore together. 9. Children of the Corn, 1984. A remote town, children with sinister faith, and rituals that defy reason. Could innocence hide the darkest evil? Picture driving along endless fields of corn, the wind whispering through stalks that sway like a sea of green teeth. That's where Children of the Corn begins, with a young couple lost on a lonely road, unaware that what seems like an innocent town harbors a terrifying secret. And here's the hook. What if those who should be most innocent, children, wielded power over life and death? Guided by rituals older than anyone alive? That chilling question pulls you in immediately, urging you to uncover the horrifying truth alongside the protagonists. The film's terror isn't in flashy effects, it's in the eerie stillness of the cornfields. In the hollow eyes of children who speak in cryptic, prophetic phrases. Every step you take in this story feels like walking a tightrope over a pit of unseen horrors. Have you ever felt that shiver when a place seems alive, almost conscious, Watching your every move? That's the creeping dread this movie evokes. It makes you wonder, how much can innocence conceal? And how easily can faith be twisted into something monstrous? As the couple delves deeper, the town's sinister rituals begin to reveal themselves. Harvest ceremonies, chants to a dark deity, and punishments for the uninitiated create a world where fear and belief are inseparable. You feel the claustrophobia, the oppressive rules set by those who should be guided, not guiding. It's fascinating and horrifying at once. How much control can a tightly knit, fanatical community exert over its members? Could you resist, or would you succumb to the same influence? Think about it. What would you do if you were trapped in a place where children held the ultimate authority? The tension is relentless. Every rustle in the corn, every distant chant, every glance from a seemingly innocent child ratchets the suspense higher. The filmmakers craft an atmosphere where you almost smell the dry, rustling corn and taste the dust in the air. You start to question who is predator and who is prey, and the line between the two becomes terrifyingly blurred. By the climax, the ritualistic horror reaches a peak that is both shocking and eerily believable. So I ask you, if you stumbled upon a town like this, would you escape immediately, or would curiosity lure you deeper into the darkness? Share your thoughts below. I'm curious how you'd react, and if the twisted world of ritual, control, and sinister innocence fascinates you. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. More chilling tales await us in the shadows. 10. The Believers, 1987. A grieving father, a city haunted by ritualistic terror, and a conspiracy older than he can imagine. Would you risk everything to uncover the truth? Step into the bustling streets of New York City, where the neon lights feel comforting but hide shadows that twist and slither in ways you can't see. The Believers begins with a personal tragedy, a death that shakes a family to its core, but soon, that grief spirals into something far more sinister. Here's the hook. What if beneath the concrete and steel of the city, ancient rituals are being performed, summoning forces that most refuse to acknowledge? That lingering tension, the sense that danger is omnipresent yet invisible, is what immediately hooks you, making it impossible to look away. The horror here is both psychological and visceral. As the protagonist delves deeper into the mystery, he discovers a clandestine cult practicing dark, Afro-Caribbean rituals with terrifying precision. Every encounter is charged with dread, a meeting, a ritual, even a casual glance on the street could conceal hidden menace. You begin to feel the same paranoia that grips the main character, sensing that every friendly face could hide sinister intent. Have you ever wondered how easily fear can infiltrate a place you once thought safe? That question drives the suspense, letting it creep under your skin slowly but surely. What's remarkable about The Believers is how it portrays the human response to ritualistic terror. The cult's practices are precise, almost methodical, and they underscore the power of belief, both for those who follow and those who oppose. As the father fights to save his family and understand the forces around him, you can't help but reflect. How far would you go to confront a threat that feels unstoppable? Would you have the courage to face evil head-on, or would you let it unfold, powerless to intervene? Share your thoughts below. I'm curious what choices you'd make in his shoes. The film masterfully builds tension through atmosphere, pacing, and chilling imagery. Candlelit rooms, chanting echoes, and shadowy figures create a sense of constant menace, making the city itself feel complicit in the horror. By the time the climactic ritual unfolds, the stakes are both intensely personal and terrifyingly universal, a struggle not just against a cult, but against the idea that ancient, unseen forces might shape our lives without our consent. So I ask you, if your city hid secrets like those in The Believers, would you seek the truth, or stay in comfortable ignorance? Comment below with your thoughts. And if you crave more journeys into classic ritual horror, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Together, we'll continue uncovering the shadows that lurk just out of sight. And there we have it, the 10 chilling tales of ritual horror that linger long after the screen goes dark. From secluded farms to city streets haunted by ancient rites, these stories remind us that fear often comes not from what we see, but what we cannot. Did any of these films make your skin crawl or your mind race? I want to hear which ritual horror left the deepest mark on you. Drop your thoughts in the comments. If you've felt that pulse of dread and crave more, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. The shadows are waiting, and our journey has only just begun.